Intercepted transmission, Kryllian Emergency Channel. Timestamp 2247.6.15, 2347 Galactic Standard. This is Commander Zarthok of the Dreadnought Infinite Sovereignty. To any Kryllian vessel receiving this transmission, retreat from Sol 3 immediately. I repeat, retreat from Earth immediately. Heavy breathing, sounds of weapons fire in background. The human. He's on the bridge. He's killed everyone between the docking bay and, oh gods, he's here. Sound of door breaching. How many of you did you kill? Translator, Kryllian language. Pause. A new voice, calm, human, with a slight rasp. How many of you threatened my dog? Transmission ends. 72 hours earlier. The thing about apex predators is that you don't always recognize them on sight. Zarthok certainly didn't. As he stood on the bridge of his dreadnought, watching the primitive blue-green planet rotate below, he saw only another conquest. World number 644. The species called themselves humans, barely space-capable, fragmented into tribal nation-states, still burning fossil fuels. Easy prey. Begin acquisition protocol, he ordered, mandibles clicking. Standard extraction, 100 specimens, then we strip the mineral deposits. His second officer, Kor, pulled up the targeting data. Commander, their military has detected us. Primitive radar and satellite networks. Should we engage? Ignore them. What can they do? Throw rocks? Zarthok laughed, a sound like grinding metal. Deploy acquisition teams to major population centers. We'll be gone before their governments finish arguing about what to do. 6 dropships descended through Earth's atmosphere, their shields shimmering against the friction. New York, Tokyo, London, Mumbai, Sao Paulo, and one more to a rural area marked only as low population density, minimal resistance expected. That last one was a mistake, the mistake that would change galactic history.
John Wick was reading when they came. The book was Tolstoy, Helen's favorite. He'd read it 17 times since she died, always finding new things she would have pointed out. Daisy dozed against his leg, her small beagle body warm and trusting. This was peace. Hard-won, blood-soaked peace, but peace nonetheless. Then the windows rattled. Daisy's head perked up, ears swiveling. John set the book down carefully, Helen's book, mustn't damage it, and moved to the window. A craft descended from the sky, nothing like human design. Sleek, organic-looking, with no visible engines but humming with power. It touched down on his lawn, scorching the grass Helen had planted. John's hand found the Glock in his desk drawer, old habits. The craft's door irised open and 4 creatures emerged. Bipedal, roughly, insectoid maybe, wearing armor that looked grown rather than forged, carrying weapons that crackled with energy. First contact, John thought distantly. Humanity's first meeting with alien life. They were about to regret it. The door exploded inward, not knocked, not opened, just suddenly gone. The creatures moved fast, faster than human, with that efficient precision of trained soldiers. John recognized professionals when he saw them. The lead creature's weapon swept the room. Its helmet translated its speech into mechanical English. Specimen acquisition. Do not resist. You will not be harmed if... It stopped. Its weapon had swung toward Daisy. The beagle, curious and fearless as always, trotted forward, tail wagging. Probably wanted to smell the new visitors. One of the creatures reached for her. Specimen B, canine, suitable for protein analysis. John moved.
Acquisition Team Zeta 9, Combat Log, recovered. 2301-15. Entry successful. 2 life forms detected. 2301-18. Specimen A, human male, exhibiting non-standard response, moving with static. 2301-24. Urgent, Vrix is down. Repeat, Vrix is down. Specimen A has acquired his weapon. 2301-31. How is he using our weapons? The biometrics shouldn't. 2301-47. Request immediate backup. Specimen displaying combat proficiency beyond species parameters. This doesn't match any data on 2302-03. He's not trying to escape. He's not defending. He's hunting us. In his own dwelling, he's 2302-19. Translator error. Untranslatable human phrase. You shouldn't have touched my dog. 2302-27. Team Leader Core to all units. Pull back. Pull back. This isn't a standard. Transmission ends. The Dreadnought, 40 minutes later. What do you mean, no response? Zarthok's voice was ice. The communications officer's chromatophores flickered with distress, his species' equivalent of trembling. Team Zeta-9 is completely offline. Last biometric readings show all members terminated. By the local military? No, sir. Timeline indicates it happened within 2 minutes of entry, before any human military could respond. 2 minutes? Zarthok pulled up the team's last visual feed, watched it once, twice, 3 times because his brain refused to process what his eyes were seeing. One human, mid-40s by their aging standards, casual clothing, no armor, no apparent military affiliation, moving like death incarnate. The human didn't fight like the other species Zarthok had conquered. Those fought with desperation, with fear, with the wild thrashing of the doomed. This human fought with something else entirely. Economy of motion, each movement precise, no wasted energy. He turned their own weapons against them, learned their function in seconds, exploited weaknesses in their armor that they'd thought were covered by shields. And his face, that's what made Zarthok's 3 hearts stutter. No rage, no fear, no triumph.
Just cold, absolute focus. Like a calculation being executed. Like a machine made of flesh that had been activated for a single purpose. Sir? The communications officer broke his horrified reverie. Orders? Send Team Alpha. Full combat deployment. Heavy weapons. I want that human. Commander! The sensor operator's voice cracked. The human, he's mobile. Heading south at high speed. He's commandeered Zeta-9's transport. And sir, biometric scans show he still has the canine with him. Zarthok felt something he hadn't experienced in 30 years of military service. Something primitive, something that predated his species' evolution into civilized beings. Prey instinct. Because the human wasn't running away. He was coming toward them. The alien vehicle handled like a dream, smooth, responsive, hovering a meter off the ground. John figured out the controls in about 30 seconds. Not so different from any other vehicle, really. Just different symbols. Daisy sat in the passenger seat, tongue lolling, enjoying the ride, completely oblivious to the 7 alien corpses her owner had left behind. In the back, John had loaded everything useful. Weapons, armor pieces, a translation device that seemed to work on some kind of universal principle. Through it, he'd learned 3 important things. 1, these aliens were here to kidnap humans for study. 2, they planned to strip mine Earth afterward. 3, they designated Daisy as protein analysis. They were going to kill his dog and eat her. John's hands tightened on the controls. He'd walked away from this life, built something peaceful, something Helen would have wanted. He'd promised her in those final days that he'd try. Try to be the man she'd seen in him, not the man he'd been before. But these aliens had kicked in his door, threatened Daisy, threatened his world. They'd brought him back. And now, they were going to learn what the old John Wick could do. The GPS, because of course even alien scouts had GPS, showed the nearest landing site, New York City, Madison Square Garden, now a crater with an alien dropship at its center. John pressed the accelerator. Time to go to work. Team Alpha was everything the Kryllian Empire had to offer. 20 warriors, each a veteran of 100 battles. Their leader, Vector, had personally put down 3 species rebellions. They wore Mark 7 powered armor that could shrug off anti-tank rounds. Their weapons could atomize a target at 300 meters. They'd cleared the area of human civilians, established a perimeter, deployed automated defense drones. They were ready for anything. Except John Wick. He arrived at 23:47 local time, just as Team Alpha was beginning to relax. The first sign of his approach was one of their perimeter drones exploding, reprogrammed and turned into a missile against its fellows. "Contact!" someone shouted. "North side, single—" The transmission cut off. Vector pulled up his tactical display. One red dot, one human, was carving through his perimeter like it wasn't there. Not charging stupidly, not running, just advancing with terrible purpose. "All units converge on—" The human was already inside the perimeter. What followed was a masterclass in asymmetric warfare. The human used the urban environment like he'd built it himself. Every parked car was cover and concealment, every window a firing position, every shadow a potential attack vector. He'd taken their weapons and learned them. Now he used them better than they did, not because of superior technology, but because of superior tactics. When 5 Kryllian warriors cornered him in an alley, he used their own shields against them, reflecting their plasma fire back. When their drones tried to track him, he moved through underground passages, Earth's primitive subway system, emerging behind their lines. And he adapted in real time, saw how their armor's joints flexed, targeted those, noticed how their helmet sensors worked, used electromagnetic interference from human power lines to blind them, recognized their command structure from their formations, killed officers first. Vector watched his team dissolve with growing horror. This wasn't a human defending itself. This was a predator that had been poked and was now demonstrating why you don't poke predators. "Fall back to the dropship," he ordered. "Establish defensive positions at—" But the human was already there, had anticipated their retreat, was waiting. Vector's last thought, as a captured plasma rifle discharged into his neural cluster, was a question that would haunt the Kryllian Empire. What kind of species produces something like this? In the Continental Hotel, about the same time, Winston stood on the rooftop, binoculars in hand, watching the light show over Madison Square Garden. Plasma fire, explosions, the distinct sound of alien weapons punctuated by the familiar crack of gunfire. His phone rang. Sophia, calling from Casablanca. "Is that who I think it is?" she asked without preamble. "Yes." "They took his dog?" "Threatened to." A long pause. "I almost feel sorry for them." "Almost?" "Well, they are trying to invade Earth." Sophia's tone shifted to business. "Should the High Table intervene?" Winston lowered the binoculars. In the distance, another explosion. Team Alpha's dropship, he'd wager. "My dear, I don't think the aliens understand what they're dealing with. But to answer your question, when has John Wick ever needed help?" "Fair point. Still, aliens. That's new even for him." "Is it, though?" Winston mused. "John spent his entire career killing things that other people thought were unkillable. Aliens are just another Tuesday for him." Another explosion, larger this time. "Besides," Winston continued, "I suspect the aliens will learn soon enough. John Wick is many things, but he's always been an excellent teacher, when properly motivated." And threatening his dog was proper motivation? "Threatening his dog," John said softly, "was the last mistake they'll ever make." At the Dreadnought command bridge, some shouted, "Team Alpha is gone." Zarthok didn't respond. What could he say? His best warriors, gone, eliminated by one human. All teams report to this human's location. They're avoiding him. The humans call it John Wick, and their military has established a perimeter, but they're not engaging. They're just watching. Watching what? Watching John Wick kill us, sir. Zarthok pulled up the intelligence his teams had managed to gather. Intercepted human communications, social media posts, news broadcasts. The humans were terrified of the invasion, yes, but there was something else in their transmissions, something his translator struggled with. He's back. Oh God, John is back. The aliens fucked up. They woke him up. Those poor bastards have no idea what's coming. What is he? Zarthok whispered. His intelligence officer had clearly been researching the same question. The humans have legends about him, sir. They call him Baba Yaga, a boogeyman, but not a creature, a man you send to kill the boogeyman. One man, one human male? They say he once killed 3 men with a pencil. They say he has a code that he keeps his word absolutely. They say he retired from some kind of human underground, but the officer hesitated.
But what? They say you don't want him to come out of retirement. And sir, we just dragged him out. Zarthok's mandibles clacked nervously. Deploy all remaining ground forces. I want that human. Sir, we've lost 97 soldiers. For dropships. The human governments are asking us to please let him finish. They're not trying to help us. They're afraid of their own species member. Then we pull back. Retreat to orbit and bombard the commander. The sensor operator's voice was pure panic. Unauthorized launch from the surface. One of our own shuttles. Heading for us. Shoot it down. It's broadcasting our security codes. The automated systems won't fire on. Override them. Override. Too late. The shuttle docked with the dreadnought's lower bay. Alarm screamed. Security teams rushed to respond. And John Wick entered the ship. The alien warship was massive, but John had stormed buildings before. Same principles applied. Control the choke points. Keep moving. Don't let them surround you. Daisy waited in the shuttle, curled up on what passed for the pilot's seat. John had left her with water, some food from his house, and a radio playing soft music. She'd be safe there. The shuttle's doors were locked and armored. He'd make sure she stayed safe. 20 Kryllian warriors hid him at the first corridor junction. Good tactics, overwhelming force at a narrow point. They'd probably won a dozen battles with that move. But John had spent 20 years fighting in corridors. He'd learned from the best, killed the best, become something beyond the best. He used their narrow corridor against them, forced them to come at him 3 at a time, used captured shields as bludgeons. When his weapon overheated, alien guns apparently did that. He killed with their own tools. When those broke, he used pieces of their armor as improvised weapons. One Kryllian, braver or stupider than the rest, charged him directly. John broke 2 of its limbs, took its weapon, and kept moving. No die, no fear, just the cold mathematics of violence that had been drilled into him over decades. Every movement counted. Every bullet mattered. Every second brought him closer to ensuring they could never threaten Daisy again. The aliens learned to fear the sound of his footsteps, learned to dread the silence when he stopped moving, because that meant he was planning. Learned that their weapons, their armor, their numbers, none of it mattered when facing a human with absolute purpose. Commander Zarthok stood alone when John Wick finally reached the bridge. His guards were dead. His crew had evacuated. The humans stood in the doorway, covered in ichor from a dozen species, carrying weapons that should have been too heavy for his frame. Behind John, somewhere deeper in the ship, that small canine barked once, checking on its master. "You did this for a dog?" Zarthok asked, mandibles clicking in disbelief. John's eyes, dead eyes, killer's eyes, fixed on the alien commander. When he spoke, his voice was rough from lack of use, but clear. "She's not a dog. She's Daisy, and she's all I have left of the only person who ever believed I could be something better than what I am." He advanced slowly, weapon raised. "Your species thought we were easy prey. You were wrong. We're not prey. We're predators pretending to be civilized. And you just reminded us what we are underneath." Zarthok reached for the communicator on his wrist. Slowly, carefully, I'm issuing full retreat orders, he said. Every Kryllian vessel will leave your solar system. We'll mark your world as restricted. Forbidden. We'll never return. John stopped. Considered. Swear it. I swear on the Hive Mother herself. Earth is yours. We'll tell the Galactic Council to stay away. A long moment passed. Zarthok could hear his own heart's pounding, see his career ending, feel the weight of his failure. But he'd live. They'd all live. If the human accepted. Finally, John Wick lowered his weapon. You have 4 hours to leave the atmosphere. After that, I come back. He turned and walked away, back toward his shuttle, back toward Daisy, leaving Zarthok alone with his shame and his relief. The human military, monitoring the dreadnought's communications, heard everything. Within minutes, word spread around the globe. John Wick just made first contact. John Wick just saved the world. John Wick is going back to retirement. And somewhere in the Pentagon, a general quietly deleted the file labeled Asset Recruitment, J. Wick. Some men, the general decided, had earned their peace. 6 months later, Galactic Council Chambers, restricted session. Let me ensure I understand correctly, said Counselor Velmora, her tendrils flickering with barely contained horror. A single human male neutralized the better part of a Kryllian battle group. One human. No power d'arme. No advanced weaponry. No fleet support. Correct, confirmed the Kryllian ambassador, who'd replaced Zarthok after the commander's forced retirement. We've analyzed every second of footage. The human designation, John Wick, demonstrated capabilities that shouldn't be possible for his species' baseline physiology. Surely you're exaggerating. Watch. The ambassador played a compilation. John Wick moving through alien soldiers like water through a sieve, adapting to their technology in real time, turning their advantages into disadvantages, fighting with absolute economy of motion, zero wasted movement, complete tactical awareness. The council watched in silence. Ow, someone finally asked. Near as we can determine, the ambassador continued, humans are capable of achieving something they call flow state. Complete focus. Their combat specialists train their entire lives for this. But more importantly, he paused. They're motivated by something we don't fully understand. Attachment, love, protection of what they consider theirs. So, they're territorial. No, worse. They're personally territorial. Not for their hive or tribe or nation. For individuals. This human waged a one-man war against our entire invasion force because we threatened his companion animal. Counselor the Rix, the synthetic collective's representative, recalculated probabilities. My model suggests this is an outlier. Surely not all humans. That's what we thought. The ambassador pulled up new data. But we've since analyzed their fiction, their history, their legends. They have thousands of stories about individuals like this. They call them heroes. Their history is full of single humans changing the course of entire conflicts through sheer determination. Impossible. Is it? They've had 2 world wars. They've split the atom. They've put themselves on their moon using computers less powerful than their children's toys. And they did it all while fighting each other. The ambassador's translator conveyed something like grim respect. What do you think they could do if they unified? If they decided we were a threat? The council chambers fell silent. Finally, Velmora spoke. Recommendation. Immediate classification. Earth becomes a restricted world. No contact. No adquisición. No mining. We tell the galaxy that Sol 3 is quarantined indefinitely. On what grounds? On the grounds that we found an apex predator species pretending to be civilized, and we barely escaped with our lives. The vote was unanimous, for everyone's sake, that the galaxy had learned its lesson. Because Earth was full of John Wicks, and they were all just waiting for someone to give them a reason.